Welcome back to a special edition of 755 is Real. I'm at my Pizza Crap hotel room. David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic, and Eric is out in Washington State. What's up, Eric? Former Braves reliever. You guys might remember him, Eric O'Flaherty, part of the Oventral dynamic trio.
I'm great. What hotel are you staying at?
Well, after I called it a piece of crap, I probably shouldn't say the name of it. It's a brothel here in Venice, Florida.
Looks nice.
No, it's not bad actually. It's not bad. I shouldn't have said that. Eric, man, Jesus, this is like the busiest. We knew this was going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know what? It lured us. It lured us by when the new collective bargaining agreement was finalized on Thursday. Then like nothing happened for 48 hours, and everybody's refreshing their Twitter feeds and stuff, and nothing's happening. And they're going, "What happened?" And then we get down here, and it's like, holy crap! That Monday, it's just been a blur. I mean, we had a situation Monday, first day of the workouts here, where in any normal spring, there were like 4 stories that would have been the biggest story of the spring, right?
Right.
You had Ozuna coming back from the domestic violence charges. That would have normally been a huge story, right?
Yeah.
That was just an afterthought this spring.
I haven't heard about it.
You got Acuna talking for the first time, only the second time since his injury, the surgery, first time since the postseason. So you had Acuna speaking. You had Charlie Morton talking about his, updating his rehab. And then, of course, you had in the middle of the afternoon Monday, after we've talked to all these guys and we're, talking about what we're going to write and stuff, you have the colossal mega deal trade that brings Matt Olson in from Oakland and perhaps more importantly, signals the end of the Freddie Freeman era. Yeah. And I mean, something that I think we both thought 10 months ago was highly unlikely, if not impossible. But as the season went on, it started to become, and you first before I did, you thought it was possible that he could leave. But I mean, by the time the playoffs rolled around and they still hadn't made him, made him one offer late in the season, but it wasn't even close to being enough. And then they didn't do another one before he let him go to free agency. So at that point, all bets were off, especially after the lockout started. It still hadn't done anything. But so they get Matt Olson, and they gave up just as much or more than we thought it was take to get him. But then today they pull off the biggest contract in team history, which even while it's the biggest, it's also going to be very team friendly if Matt Olson continues to play like he did last year. He didn't even have to get better than last year. If he just plays like last year or close to that, then it is a hell of a deal for the Braves, because you're talking about 8 years, $168 million, or 9 and $188 million, because it's got a $20 million option with no buyout. The Alex special, which I don't know how he could get away with these options with no buyouts. But for a guy that hit 39 bombs last year with 111 RBIs, over 900 OPS, 2 Gold Gloves, and he's going to be making peaks at $22 million a year for the last 6 years, the 6 free agent years of that deal, plus a $20 million option. That's a hell of a deal.
It's about the only way the last couple of days could have unfolded, that they come out looking okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if maybe just looking at the state of the game, a team winning the World Series and having their franchise player, the guy that's been their franchise player and their leader for however long, you win the World Series with them and let them walk.
Yeah.
I'll never rip on the Braves too much because they got me to 10 years and I had my best years with them. But that's about as far as you could push me before I'd have to be like, all right, I gotta be honest here and say something. But pulling off the deal for Matt and then signing him to a pretty good contract, if he plays close to what he's been doing, it's going to look like a steal. And then when you say it's the biggest contract in team history and you already got Acuna signed to 10 years.
Yeah.
The AA's doing some work.
He's a sorcerer, man, with these contracts. You know what they're doing, though? They did it again with these guys. Now, the exception was Acuna and Ozzy. They took way less than they could have got, but they wanted their security. They both come from, Latin American countries. They wanted to set up their families for, and you can't blame them. And we saw when Acuna goes down with that knee injury, we were reminded how precious health is and how quickly things could change. Now, thankfully, he's back and it looks like he's going to be 100% pretty soon. But we saw how fast things could change. So you can't begrudge a guy for taking $100 million guarantee at age 23.
I never do.
But
I mean, I get it. It's you're taking under market, but I never blame a guy for signing one of those contracts.
Yeah. The Ozzy one was even.
Ozzy's is
his peaks at $7 million a year for a guy who's one of the best second basemen in baseball. But the other ones, what I was getting to is the other of these deals. They are getting guys who are all from Atlanta, want to play here, and love the camaraderie. And now they got a great team, obviously. So that just adds to it. But these are all guys that are getting so lucky because it's a hotbed for talent. And these are guys that have always kind of dreamed of playing here. They're starting young families. They want to live here. Their families are here. So if you look at the guys that they're doing this with, they all want to be here.
Yeah.
And they just did this with a guy who went to Parkview High, Jeff Francoeur's alma mater, and Matt Olson, who's from Atlanta, grew up pulling for the Braves, always wanted to play here. He was going to be Vandy roommates with Dansby out of high school. They had agreed to be roommates of Vandy, but he got drafted like 40th pick, first round by the A's. So he is signed. So that was off. But he knows a lot of guys on the team, used to go to the Braves games and all that. And then you sign Colin McHugh, who also went to high school in Lilburn at another school, not Parkview. But his wife's got a boutique down by Old Turner Field, a boutique store down there. He's got a couple of kids who've been dying for dad to come back here. And McHugh's wanted to pitch for the Braves for a long time. He's told people he wanted to pitch for the Braves. So you got this guy who was one of the elite relievers last year in baseball. 1.55 ERA for the Tampa Bay. He was a stud.
I didn't realize he had that kind of year until you told me that they'd signed him. And I looked it up and I was like, dang.
And you got him for 2 years and $10 million, which in today's market for a reliever, setup reliever, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
Setup guys are getting close to $10 million a year, the best ones. So he's over 30, but still.
He's floated off to Japan, so he's looking at it like, 2 years here guaranteed, maybe my last deal. Yeah. If he keeps doing what he's doing, he keeps getting deals, but he knows how fragile a career could be, just like we were just talking about with Acuna getting hurt. Yeah. Anything can happen at any minute, so I think it's a good deal for both sides there.
So he wanted to get here. His wife wanted to get, his kids wanted to get here. So you got two guys right there that were amenable to these kind of contracts that weren't trying to get the most dollars they could. Because Olsen could have said, no, you know what? I want to test free agency. And could have, if he has 2 more years like he had last year, he's got a contract that would have blown this thing out of the water.
Yeah. When they're lucky, they're lucky he doesn't have a guy like Boris or Danny Lozano, one of those big time guys. That BB's a good agent, but
BB's a big time guy, but
he's willing to talk.
Right. BB's a guy that understands the or stresses the importance. He gets clients that he wants to put them in a place where they're going to be comfortable. Chipper was his first guy. He grew up with Chipper. He's best friends with Chipper. Chipper's kind of the guy that got him in the agent, get him going. And he's picked up a lot of big time guys along the way, like B-Mac. Mm-hmm. But he gets contracts and tries to get guys where they want to be, where they're going to be happy. Doesn't necessarily look for the highest dollar like Boris does. And this is a classic case of it. He comes in here motivated to get a deal done. Alex calls him immediately after this trade, like within an hour or two, and says, first calls to Olsen. He says, I'm calling your agent. I'm calling BB because I want to get a deal done. We want you here. And
I bet he talked to BB a little before the trade too, just to, maybe just see if he'd have that interest and if they could get it done. But I bet you had a pretty good idea that they could get something done before he pulled the trigger on the deal.
They hammered this deal out in 18 hours or so. They started Monday afternoon talking numbers. They started at $140 million for 7 years. By early in the morning, late after midnight sometime, they got a deal done. And you're talking about with Freddie, these negotiations have gone on for how many months? And at a standstill.
2 years. Yeah.
At a standstill. And he comes in here and proceeds to get the biggest contract in team history. And the previous biggest one, Freddie's $135 million 8-year deal.
That worked out.
That worked out great. So, yeah, like you said, I mean, if they get him and they give up what they gave up for just 2 years of Olsen,
and he's going year to year,
then you better win a World Series, because you gave up 4 prospects. And I think I was shocked that they gave up Shea Langoliers. I thought he was number 2 behind Harris as untouchables. Harris, I knew they wouldn't. And Oakland wanted Harris, and they said, no, we're not giving up Harris. And Langoliers was the other guy. They said, we got to give up. You got to get Langoliers then.
Well, that's why I think that they had at least a pretty good idea that he'd sign a reasonable contract before they pulled the trigger, because that changes the whole prospect package when you have a good chance of keeping him.
Well, BB has told, and BB said this, BB said he's told Chipper many times that Olsen would love to play here. So whether BB told Alex that directly beforehand, when Alex says he did not, that Chipper told where he's working as an assistant to Alex. He told him Olsen would love to come here in case we're not able to sign Freddie down the line, just in case. Chipper told him that he had heard and was fully aware that Olsen would love to play here if the deal's right and all that.
Yeah.
So Olsen looked at those numbers when BB came to him after the revised deal, and Olsen said, what's the question? He didn't try to get more money. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm taking that money to play where he's loved, the number 1 place he wanted to be, because he knew he was going to get traded. He said, if I'm going to get traded, I want it to be Atlanta. And that's what it was.
Well, it worked out nice for him. I feel for Freddie, because he just lost his biggest bargaining chip right there. To drive up the price or get the deal he wants from other teams. I know the Dodgers have been on him, but losing the Braves, if they're not going to budge, losing them as leverage hurts a lot too.
Yeah, especially if he wants a 6-year deal. How about this though? Olsen, his wife Nicole, who was there today, she's also from like the suburbs in Atlanta. Her family lives there. Her parents do, so I'm assuming she is. But they got married. They closed on a house in August inside the perimeter in Atlanta.
Okay,
because that's where they want to live. So they were going to live there in the off season regardless. They got married in December. November or December. I forgot. I have to look at my story. I wrote it.
I probably bought a house.
They just got married after closing on a house. And now he is going to be playing in Atlanta for the next 8 or 9 years. I mean, how could much better could things fall into place for you?
That's pretty nice. I did the opposite. I bought a place in Seattle and got put on waivers 3 months later.
What'd you say? You had it furnished like 5 years later?
Well, no. So we bought a condo in Seattle, and we didn't even have furniture in it, and I was already a Brave. And then 3 years later, after my contract ran up with Atlanta, we're like, we want to stay in Seattle. My wife's family was from there, and we bought a house. But this is why it's so nice for Matt is we didn't get that house furnished till 2017, because you're like in the off season, you got a couple couches. We never even unpacked in that house until 2017. Yeah. So we owned it for 4 years and barely even moved in. He'll have his place fully furnished by July.
Yeah. Because he's lived here in the off season every year. He plays in BMAX charity thing, that softball game and all that. I played with him in that one. I didn't know him at the time, but he was on Bowman's team. They beat us.
Did you go deep?
No, I think he did.
Bowman went deep.
No, Bowman struck out in softball.
Okay, good. I saw. Who has a nice swing though is McAlpin. He's got a pretty good swing.
I know. I saw that a couple years ago when he was
take BP.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that. I think you guys should do a little live stream.
We did that when I was covering the Marlins. We had a media versus team employees softball game. It was fun. We did it at Joe Robbie Stadium when they were playing there.
That'd be some good fuel for players. Watch that, and when you write a bad article about them, just to remind you what you look like trying to hit a softball.
I could hit a softball. I think I would pull a hammy or a calf now, though, doing something, because my running is strictly distance on the road, slow pace, much slower than I used to run. But I'm not doing interval training anymore. So if I came out of the box hard, I'm scared, man. I'm at that age where Achilles snaps. All these guys I know play basketball.
the last 2 off seasons I've played beer league softball, and it's just there's a corpse every 5 minutes. Some dude just trying to get out of the box and hurts his hammy or knee. I mean, guys just go down left and right. If you don't keep moving, man.
I tell you what, man, as much as I love playing basketball, there is no way you'd get me involved in a pickup game now, because so many guys I know have blown the Achilles. When you get over a certain age, that Achilles will snap playing hoops. You go up for just an innocent little rebound and come down. No, thank you. I ain't going through that rehab.
That's why everybody plays golf when they get old.
Well, I'm running as long as I can, but my knees bark, man. I got those Brett Favre knee braces on. What are they called? The copper fit? I've got a copper fit on my right knee for a bone spur, dude.
Those don't do shit.
It works.
No,
I think it works. It's got the menthol in it. Well, psychosomatic then, because it feels like it works. Holds my shit together, man.
That's when you know you're old, but congrats on getting out there.
I got a bone spur in that knee that fucking barks when I wake up, when I sleep wrong with it, like my cat between my legs or something. I wake up and I've had the knee poking out. I can't walk for like 10 steps, dude. It is killing me. Yeah. And then I get more. It gets lubed up and you can go.
Yeah, getting old sucks.
You don't even know about getting old.
Yeah,
but
dude,
you
I got
all
some mileage.
You got real mileage though on that shoulder though.
My right knee, right hip, left shoulder, left elbow, that whole chain is just torched.
Mine, it's everything in the legs from running on roads for 40 years.
Yeah,
but anyway, so man, so far we've said this about Alex, so we're not gonna we got nothing to gain by sucking up to it. But I gotta say, man, he does this job so much better than most of these GMs. He does these deals and he's operating within a payroll. People that know and have been bashing on the Braves for not signing Freddie, like we have. But everybody who knows the game and knows this organization knows it's not Alex. He would have signed Freddie. And when he was crying, fighting back tears 2 days ago, those were real, man. Yeah. He was crushed. He was announcing, I've never seen the guy, he's announcing a trade, bringing in any other team in baseball would have traded for Olsen. They would have been celebrating. Yeah. The only team in baseball because of Freddie Freeman. That's what it meant. They're getting rid of him. But he was fighting back tears as he was talking about the trade because of what it meant. And he couldn't name Freddie. And I was wondering why, and I was told later why. Because GMs are not allowed to name any free agent who they may not be involved in anymore or out of the bidding. The Players Union raises hell if you do that.
Crying's not enough. I mean,
Players Union raises hell about it. If you name a guy, not that because everybody knew, they're not in bidding, but if you'd named him, it's like a grievance or something. Because I was wondering why you can't just name Freddie and say you're not, but you can't.
Well, he's not crying over the prospects he gave up.
Exactly. As much as he liked, those guys, it was Freddie. But I tell you, man, he's operating with a pretty strict budget. And if they would have signed Freddie, which they could have done, but if they would have signed him, they just got a guy they're paying $15 million this year. Freddie's AAV is going to be closer to 30 than 25. Yeah. So if you'd have signed him, what I'm told, they've got about $15 million left before they sign McHugh for $5 million. They're going to pay him this year. So it's should be about 10 now. If they'd have signed Freddie, unless they'd have gone above the budget that they have, because he likes to put aside some for midseason trades, you're probably looking at having less than $5 million left, unless you'd have backloaded Freddie, which they don't want to do that either because you don't want to be paying him more when he's, 35 years old.
Even though it's a self-imposed budget, it's a budget, and he's working under it. Yeah.
It's not his self-imposed, though. It's imposed.
Right, I get that.
Imposed by McGurk.
I wanted to rip on this whole situation bad. When it happened, I'm like, this is bullshit. They should have signed Freddie back. How can you win a World Series and make all this money and not be able to? And then they did pretty much the one thing that makes me, have to bite my tongue and just look at it. Like if I look at it from a pure baseball standpoint, minus the leadership and certain things you might be losing, and that's to be seen. But the way they pulled this off is like, all right, I guess I can see it. It's hard to argue with getting that type of player and under market probably for quite a few of the years as long as he performs. It's hard
way
to
under market potentially because his market will be well over 30 million for a guy who has 39 bombs, Gold Glove winner, 900 OPS. If he keeps doing that, it's a guy that's going to be making closer to 40 million, or he could have at 20. So, but let's be clear. the Braves payroll should be about 180 million.
Yeah.
And if it's 180 million, then you could sign Freddie and still go out and do the other moves you wanted to make. But it's not, that tells me it's not going to be 180 million. When somebody told me what they had left, tells me it's probably going to be closer to like 160, going up from where it was 150, where they ended up last year. Because all Alex would say is it's going to go up. It's gone up each year. They took a step back during the pandemic year, obviously. And then last year, again, they started lower. But by the end of the year, it was back where it was going to be in 20, which was going to be 150. The end of the year, last year, around there. So this year, I think it's probably going to be up close to 160. But a team to win a World Series and raked in the dough, like we've seen the figures now, how much it should be 180. But it's not going to be. So if it's not going to be, then you got to operate with what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's why you can't hate on AA for it.
No.
It's like, well,
he's making it work, and he's got, oh my God.
It's not like he gets the stuff to spare change in his pocket either. I mean, he's just trying to build a winner. But
how about this though? You got Acuna signed for, what is it? 8 more years? No, 7 more years. What was it? He signed the $100 million 8-year deal. I'd have to go look at my thing, but he's signed for at least 6 more years, right? And then same thing for Ozzy with the options. Acuna's salary peaks at $17 million. He's probably going to be $40 million player if he's not already, because he's one of the best players in the game, and the players' salaries are going up to $40 million. The pitchers are already there. The position guys are getting there, right? So Ozzy's peaks at a ridiculously low $7 million.
Shit, I made that 1 year.
For 25, he's going to be a 25 homer second baseman, 25 to 30 homer second baseman, you know?
Yeah.
And the elite defender too. Olsen's salary peaks at $22 million. They bought out his two arbitration years. They're paying him more this year than he would have got. He would have got about 12. They're paying him 15. That goes to like 21 next year. Then it goes to $22 million for 6 straight years. They bought out at 6 free agent years for $22 million each, and $20 million option in the 7th if they keep it. So you're going to have this overlap of about 4 years where you've got Acuna, Ozzy, and Olsen making a combined. For Acuna and Olsen are going to make a combined $39 million.
Less than Scherzer for 1 year.
Yeah, less than Trout, less than Scherzer, less than Trevor Bauer. You're going to have some more position guys getting up there too pretty soon. You got a lot of them over 30 already.
Yeah.
You're going to be paying
by the
39.
time those deals are up, those type of players are going to cost an extra 5 or 10.
You're going to have those two guys making $39 million, and they could. I mean, it's not hard to imagine those guys hitting 70 to 80 homers between the two of them. Olsen's already hit 39, and
there's some luck involved in that.
And Acuna's already hit. Acuna's already hit 40.
Yeah.
So they could hit 80 homers just doing what they've already done. So if they hit 80 to 90 homers, and they're making $39 million between them and playing great defense as well. I mean, and then Ozzy 7. So that's $46 million for those 3 players.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's just, that's the luck of having some guys that, were willing to do it. Obviously.
Right. They wanted the security. You got him really young, bought out the arbitration.
Other GMs are looking at this. Like,
players.
You're paying Tatis 300 something. I think he's hurt his wrist or something on a motorcycle.
He broke his wrist. He's out 3 months, dude, at least. He can't stay healthy. Now he's got a bad shoulder and a broken wrist. Yeah. And he signed for how many more years? 12? 13?
Yeah. That's I mean, Acuna would have got the same deal.
Alex is doing some GMing, man. Got 2 kids. He made sure, he bought them out early, gave them security. And now you got 2 more Atlanta guys who really want to play here. Took a hometown. Now that was the definition of a hometown discount. What he took today for that $186 million. But it's a great deal for somebody who wants to be here, and don't want to worry about getting hurt or whatever. You bought out his arbitration years. He could get hurt before free agency and never see anything close to that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And that's how it's supposed to work, right? That's how it's supposed to work. You sign him well, you buy out arbitration, take the security risk out. You don't wait till like Freddie in the last year before free agency.
Yeah, I'd be interested to talk to Freddie sometime and ask him if he would have, taken the deals he turned down if they'd come earlier.
I think he would have.
Like maybe
Year ago.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if what was on the table a year ago, if they came up, it'd be interesting to talk to him about the whole process
Right.
and just see. But I mean, it's also, just looking at Olsen, guys respond to these deals in one of two ways. They either feel the pressure to live up to it, or like BMAC said, he always talked about that deal he signed that was under market. And he said that completely took the pressure off and he played better because of it. So, because guys would say it in the clubhouse, like, man, do you regret signing that? Or,
Yeah.
Just ask you how you feel about this deal that everybody can look at and say, you'd be making 18 to 20 this year. You're making 11. Do you regret that? Which, in real world terms, it's hard to,
Right.
It's a tough conversation, but in the clubhouse, you can have it and ask the guy. And he always said, once I signed that contract, I felt no pressure. I'd taken care of my family for life. This one big part of the deal, this one big aspect of playing ball was done. And now I could just go play ball. And I even felt like that when I went to arbitration the first time. Just knowing I couldn't get sent down for a year, I went out and had my best season ever.
Right.
But it's just interesting. I mean, you look at Jason Bay, you could tell he felt that pressure in New York to live up to the contract he signed. So I always wonder,
Yeah. That was bad.
Yeah, and if you struggle in New York and start off like that, I mean, it's that I don't know how you dig out of that hole. Lindor's got to do it, and he kind of started to. But yeah, I mean, I like looking at it and trying to figure out the character you're dealing with and how they're gonna, either use that to their advantage or if it's gonna eat them up.
Well, if anybody could handle this, I tell you what, Olsen's got some great resources. One, you got Dansby Swanson right there that can tell you everything he's been through, what to avoid, what not to avoid, playing at home.
First overall pick. Yeah.
You got Jeff Francoeur from your high school who keeps in touch with you anyway, who went through the whole thing. You got BMAC, who he knows well.
Yep.
You got Chipper, who shared an agent. So you got any number of people that you can go to if you're having any kind of difficulties with the home at the front and how to handle tickets and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think that's going to be, I think this is a good guy for that. And he strikes me as a really bright guy too. That's really grounded. They got a good one. I mean, if we had to lose Freddie, I'd say because for us, it feels like a loss. I mean, losing Freddie. He's the voice of the team. He's the voice of the team. The guy we go to all the time. The guy that never hid. The guy that was always accountable and made sure other guys were accountable as well. So, and that part of it remains to be seen how they. I don't think Olsen can fill all that right away. Maybe he grows into that. But fortunately for the Braves, you got some other guys that now have experience and have watched Freddie do it, and are a lot more mature now. And I think they can step into that 4 a little bit and take up some of that leadership role. I think a guy like Dansby, a guy like Austin Riley, who could have never dreamed of doing that a year ago, but now he can.
And the beauty of it is they saw how to do it. Those guys have seen how to do it from Freddie. So even being gone, he's going to have an effect on this team, which is, it sucks for him to think he's making a team better after he leaves, but it's also a compliment and it feels good.
Yeah.
They've all seen how he went about his business and that bar's set. So, it's up to those guys to uphold that. But if that trend is set in the clubhouse, here's how we do our business. We play every day. We work our asses off. That'll keep going, even after he's gone, hopefully.
Yeah, I think those infielders, because the other 3 are all back who played every game and they all took the cues from Freddie. That's not going to stop. They're going to be pushing each other to do that now. I know that that's for sure. I think Ozzy is a lot more mature than he was. I think he'll be a good voice in there. So they got some guys that can step up into that kind of role. I think Adam Duvall is a guy who's a quiet guy, but he sets it by example. Charlie obviously is a huge leader for the pitchers. He's there, Freddie, for the pitching staff.
Yeah.
And now you brought in another guy for the bullpen. The bullpen was tight-knit anyway. They had great chemistry last year. You bring in a guy that everybody raves about, Colin McHugh, like he is a perfect guy for this bullpen. And you brought back the guy that was the leader of it 2 years ago. Remember O'Day? Everybody said he was the dad. He was the guy. Even when he wasn't pitching, he was still the leader of that bullpen.
Yep.
Well, he's back on a minor league deal, and they said he's really pitching well. He's healthy. So if he makes the team, even if it's the last guy in the pen, he could be really instrumental. But that bullpen, there's no issues with that. Those guys are they're rock solid.
Oh, they're locked.
Yeah, with Matzik and Will Smith, and Luke. That's just a solid crew there, man. And Mentor, and now you add McHugh. You got other guys like Webb and Dylan Lee. We saw at the end of the year. You got potential guys like Muller you could try in there. That bullpen should be from day one really good this year.
Yeah, they're pretty stacked, and that you're not going to ever pitch under more pressure than Matzik pitched in the postseason. These guys did, and actually taking it all the way. The experience they have. I thought the funny thing was I thought Minter's experience would play off in the regular season. Having a good postseason the year before, and he struggled a little bit, but even then, when it came crunch time, he had some huge games in the postseason. So, having a bullpen of that many guys that have just had the experience of pitching those huge games in the bullpen but you can't ask for more than that out of your pen. And there's probably not even a spot open.
Yeah. And how about and you got like Sean Newcomb, who's out of options. So he's going to get a chance to make the team, because otherwise you're going to lose him with that arm. How about that rotation? Not only you got Charlie back, but you got
what's his timetable?
He's probably going to be ready opening day.
Really?
Yeah, he's throwing off the mound. How about Max Fried steps up, pitches game 6, pitches his ass off, has that, just nails, has that incident where his ankle gets rolled over and he doesn't even, just keeps going, right?
Yep.
Everything he's learned in 2 postseasons, that guy's rock solid now too. So you got Charlie Morton and him. Ian, who's pitched like a 35-year-old from day one.
Yeah.
Yep. That's this team, dude. They are, if they stay healthy, they did it last year without even staying healthy.
Without Acuna.
Yeah, and Acuna should be back by May at the latest playing in the field. They might let him hit some in April if he's, DH, but they don't want him playing in the field till May. That's what they're saying now, at least. But he looks good. He's running around. He's got no, restrictions.
Just wait. Last year with Soroka, just wait. Don't push it. It's too valuable.
But you look at that experience they gained in that postseason, like you said, and the guys that came up big, and nobody showed any nerves. No. And it's just they're going to come into this thing now this year with so much swagger. And you look at Dansby with the home run in Game 6. It's and a guy that we haven't even mentioned. And I tell you what, he handled it as well as you possibly could have the other day. Coming back, Ozuna.
Yeah.
Said all the right things. Sounded respectful. Didn't say like he didn't say it with a smirk like I'm saying all the right things, but I don't mean any of this shit. He didn't look like that to me. If he was, then he pulled it off well. Somebody told him what he needs to say if that's the case, but he seems sincere to me.
It's hard to fake that stuff.
It's hard to fake it, but regardless, he's in great shape. This guy's in so much better shape than he was a year ago. He came in with a boiler last year, man. He was chunky, last year at spring training. He did not look good. And then he got off to the terrible start, got hurt. He played all season of winter ball this year, the whole year, all the way up through the Caribbean Series. And he came in and he's raking in batting practice, which his batting practices in previous PPs were awful.
Really?
Feet were sliding all over he just looked terrible in the batting practice. He looked mid-season form in batting practice day 1 the other day. He played up until 3 or 4 weeks ago, but he's great shape. He's got the belly's flat. It looks in really good shape. He knows what's riding on this.
Yeah.
He knows if he gets off to a terrible start, the only way he's not going to get booed is by getting off to a good start. People will forget if you contribute.
Well, and also, that whether the team's saying it out loud or not, that's on your resume.
Oh, yeah. They would have got rid of him if they didn't know $53 million.
Yeah. And so, as a player, even if he's showing legit remorse, you go out there in the league, you're coming with a lot of baggage. If you have a bad spring training and the team, you show up looking like shit, the team cuts you.
Yeah.
Probably nobody's signing you.
Yeah. Your 1-year deal, or you're going back and playing in Mexico during the regular season and Dominican in the winter.
No, you could be legitimately done in the big leagues after doing
Korea.
Something like that. But
yeah. Hey, I tell you what though, because regardless of that awful thing that he did, and I don't, we can agree on that. It was terrible. On the field, this is a guy that teammates really like, And you see it from day one when he gets back, and especially the Latin guys, the young guys, Acuna and Ozzy around this guy are just, they light up. The three of them together, they just light up. They have so much fun. And I think that could really help them getting back because, they're going to miss Freddie, man. And it could help having this guy back. And I think he's going to be on his P's and Q's and watch. He knows he can't screw up again off the field, obviously. Right. Just can't, and he's being supervised too for like 6 months before the charges can be dropped. So, but in the clubhouse, they all seem to be really thankful that he's back because of what he can do in the lineup. You look at this lineup, man. Once Acuna's back at the top, I don't know who you're going to have two. You could have Ozzy, you could have Dansby, I don't know, but Olsen is batting third and fourth is where he's hit with Oakland, basically. So you have that left-handed stick, you figure. But now you're looking at Austin Riley come back clean up. You got Ozuna hit clean up, in his great year a few years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how you do it, but that is stacked. And look at Dansby, what he did last year.
Yeah, they'll just have to play with it. It's nobody would have predicted Freddie hitting second and Acuna leading off, before it happened. But they'll just have to play with it and see where it flows. It's always a formula putting those things together, and you do something that doesn't really make sense, and then it works, and you just ride it out until it doesn't.
The other thing great about Olsen, besides the big time power, and he's got big time power, 6'5" and long levers like Freddie, and the other big thing is high OBP, kind of like Freddie with that, like 370 last year.
Does he hit lefties?
Yeah, he does.
I think I've seen that he hits lefties.
He had like the
highlights of it, but
I think there's a stat like most lefty on lefty homers. I'll look it up real quick, but keep talking about you were telling me that you actually rehabbed with this guy when you went to Oakland, right?
Imagine that. I was hurt.
Another guy that you have tied to.
Yeah, he was in I'm pretty sure Stockton. It was their A-ball team. When I was with the A's, and he's actually just Olsen. He's actually just another guy that kind of reminded me a lot of Fried, Soroka.
Yeah,
he just seemed, he's got to put his time in an A-ball, but mentally and maturity wise, he was a lot farther along, asking different questions than most of the young guys are in A-ball, and he kind of stood out to me as a possible stud. But you don't get a chance to watch him play enough to really gauge him. I could tell he was a good defender.
Yeah.
But until you see him hit for 2 weeks, you might roll in there and they have their 3 bad games. Doesn't mean the guy can't hit. But so I didn't really pick up on a lot of him, physically or baseball wise, but just the demeanor he had and the comfort he had and the maturity he had definitely stood out.
And so how about this?
Good.
So how about this? We've been spoiled with Freddie hitting lefty on lefty, right? So the guy they replaced him with last year, Olsen, lefty hitter, obviously. Against righties, he hit 271, 382 OBP, 17 homers, 496 slugging, 878 OPS. Against lefties, 270, 354 OBP, so the OBP is 28 points lower. 22 homers and 254 plate appearances. 22. He slugged 608 against lefties.
In Oakland.
962 OPS against lefties, 878 against righties.
I didn't even really think of that yet, but
157 OPS plus against lefties.
Well, and now he's got a way shorter porch in right field. He's probably doing his damage, clipping breaking balls out front, but he can shoot it the other way at Truist. And if he hits, I bet if you pulled up one of those graphs that showed all his doubles in Oakland, he'd have 8 more homers at Truist. Just how much shorter right field is, and that tall wall. Oakland, the ball goes nowhere once the sun goes down, and you're probably not hitting too many left center field home runs as a left-handed hitter in Oakland either, because it's a tall fence and the ball doesn't fly.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that until just now, but that's going to be nice for him to hit in that smaller part.
I'm looking into this a little further here. Lefty starters. God, this is almost just like it's hard to believe he's got versus lefty starters, 22 homers in 258. I don't know what that. Something's wrong with that. But anyway, I don't think that's right.
So he didn't hit one off a reliever.
Yeah, that doesn't look right, but that's what it says. So yeah, I think it was some kind of record. I saw it today. It was a record like going back for most lefty versus lefty homers in a long time. So yeah, that's huge.
Well, that just makes it so much easier to set the lineup. Even if he was a little worse against lefties or could battle against lefties, that was what was so nice about having Freddie is he didn't even count if you brought a lefty in. He'd do the same thing. Nothing changed against. You saw him hit that home run off a Hader. In the playoffs, it makes your lineup so much easier to set up when you don't have to, stagger it and worry about them bringing this lefty in. You can surround him with Acuna, Ozuna.
Yeah,
and you bring in a lefty, you can't bring him in for one hitter, and he might take him deep anyway.
By the way, his home and road splits last year were almost identical. The slash lines. He had 18 homers at home, 21 on the road, but the average 270 home, 272 road, OBP 375 home, 368 road, slugging 536 home, 544 road, OPS 911 at home, 912 road.
Well, everybody in his division's a big park, though.
Yeah,
you got Anaheim, the ball goes nowhere.
Yeah,
Texas has got that new park that everybody says it doesn't fly out of.
Right. That's an impressive year.
His home park, the ball goes nowhere. Safeco, they've moved the fence in like 4 times and guys still can't get it out.
Yeah.
So you got 4 or 5 parks in that division. And Houston is a hitter's park, if you ask me. But you got one hitter's park where now you come over to the NL East. You got Philly, Bandbox, City's fair. Truist is a hitter's park, if you ask me. I always felt like
it's
it was.
Pretty fair.
Florida's big. But
not as big as it was. Not nearly as big as it was. It's pretty close to fair.
But the ball still gets out of Truist in right field, even if it is a fair park. And what else is left? Oh, the Nationals it's fair too, but they still got a decent, shorter porch in right field that you can get it out of where it cuts in and it gets tall.
If he does the same thing as he did last year, hits the same balls, exit
velos, he's going to have another 15
45
homers.
At least you have at least 45 homers too.
Yeah, maybe say 10 just to be safe with our prediction, but that he's going to be hitting in some hitters parks now.
And last year he hit third, 526 plate appearances, hit cleanup 117 plate appearances. The only other places he hit was second, 6 games at second and 1 at fifth. So pretty impressive. What a hell of a year. This guy's it's like this is the only move Alex could have made where fans would not have just been in an uproar because of the huge drop off. Even a guy like Rizzo isn't going to come close to Freddie's production and defense. But this guy could. I mean, last year he's arguably better than Freddie statistically.
Well,
so
that's what I'm saying. It's I wanted to be mad, but it's hard to be mad.
Yeah. Especially when you look at, you're getting so close to opening day. And if you would have lost out on both, if you had not signed Freddie and somebody would have traded for Olsen, oh man. And you're scrambling to find somebody else to fit. You got who you're going to get, So
that's why for me, they had to have a pretty good idea even before the lockout to get this done this quick. That
I think they had to feel pretty damn confident to give up Langoliers and give up Langoliers and Cusack. He's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, And the other guy, they gave up the 4th guy in it. They gave up 3 of their top 5 prospects, according to a couple of ratings. Top 5, 3 of them. And the other guy, Estes, if you look what he did last year at 19 in Low A Augusta, huge numbers, big strikeout totals. So, I mean, it was another guy that was Oakland got a haul for Olsen.
Well, that's what they do.
It's what it's supposed to do for a guy that good.
You just think, though, I look at it like, shit, if Oakland had a budget, if they could spend money and keep these guys. A couple
of these guys,
think of all the players that have come through that wind up in Olsen's situation. Yeah.
They're going to trade so many guys. It could end up being the best thing that could have happened to Pache. Change of scenery. He's going to get to play. And Langoliers is going to play sooner there than he would here. They got a good young catcher, but these two guys were signed for 2 years. These guys were signed for 2 years here, Darno and Pena, that they had just brought in from Milwaukee.
So they knew they weren't gonna. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that's the one reason that Oakland does so well is there's no better place to be a young guy. The
Right.
culture is do whatever you want, wear whatever you want, come up, and the fans jump on your back. They love their players. You're gonna get to play. Pache's gonna get to play. If he
Yeah.
struggles, he's gonna get to play because they're gonna appreciate his defense and throw him out there. I bet he has a pretty good run there.
And the Giants have all the pressure in Ed Market,
Yep. Yeah.
He's going to make some pretty catches out there in that sun-splashed, huge outfield. Pache running out there.
He's going to have room to run for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, it's been a hellacious couple of days here, spring training. Very eventful. They got to pack it into 3.5 weeks, and they're doing it. Man, there's going to be some injuries this year, dude, because there were injuries in 2020, and this year there's 3.5 weeks of spring training.
Yeah, I wonder, the difference is during 2020, you had the lockout too. Not the lockout, but lockdown. Guys weren't able to use their normal facilities and
they had to find places and
throw at random high schools and stuff like that. During this thing, I know a lot of guys were heading down to that camp they had down in Arizona.
Yeah.
And also you were able to go to the gym and work out with a trainer and do all this stuff. I think that was a factor in all those injuries and just rough starts as guys were just completely thrown off their off-season routine.
Plus, they'd had like 3 weeks of spring training. We're pitching in games and everything. And then they shut it down and then restarted it again a few months later.
That's hard to do mentally.
So, yeah, these guys, if they're smart, veteran pitchers have been out there getting ready, doing their normal routines, knowing there was going to be spring training eventually. So we'll see.
That's with
might
Blake
be young
Trinan.
guys.
Blake Trinan, he lives in Walla Walla. His wife is he's a basketball coach at the community college, so he lives here randomly.
Oh, really?
But I played catch with him like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He needs somebody to throw with. That just gives you an idea of how hard it is to piece together your normal routine when you can't fly down to spring training and get started at a facility early. But man, his ball just explodes. I was playing catch with him like, man, I don't know how you've ever given up a hit because it was
filthy. God,
it's crazy how nasty he is.
Yeah, he's a dominant guy, man. Last year, some of his appearances, I was like, whoa.
It's a wiffle ball.
So anyway, hopefully Alex wants to get everything done by Friday because that's when the games start.
Yeah.
So I am expecting a couple more moves in the next couple of days.
Games start Friday?
Friday.
What was day one of spring training?
Monday.
You might be right on that injury front.
Report day was Sunday. Our first workout was Monday. They didn't do the whole pitchers and catchers. They just everybody get here and start.
162 though, right?
162. It's so weird. I'm coming out, driving to the ballpark on Sunday going, okay, this is when, like the 14th, this is normally when you're looking at we only got 2 more weeks of spring training. We're in the home stretch. This will go by fast. Well, driving out there for day one going, we're just starting. Yeah, we're going to play 162 and only start like a week later and only finish like 3 days later than normal. They're only adding 3 days to the back of the back season.
So they're just going to cram in a bunch of doubleheaders.
Cram in some doubleheaders. They're eliminating those game 163 tiebreakers.
Are they taking away off days or they still get 20?
I think there may be 1 or 2 off days taken away, and teams that have like an interleague opponent that started out with interleague, they're the ones that have to make up those on off days or whatever, mutual travel days, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The teams that started with an interleague series are one of those weird things where you only play them at their place. They don't come to your place.
Right.
If you had one of those starting out, there weren't many cases like that. Braves are all right. They started out, they're missing the Miami and Mets series. So you make those up anytime, that's not even a problem.
Yeah, not having to go to New York in early April.
Yeah. So now it works out great for them. So now they open at home. So you got the World Series thing. You're going to raise the banner at home on opening day.
That's going to be cool.
You're going to give out your rings on the 3rd day, the series finale of that first series.
A lot better than what the Nationals got, right?
Oh, my God.
You get to celebrate it.
The championship that never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you open against the Reds. You open against a good team. And then we didn't get our LA San Diego trip bounced. That's what I was worried about. The 14th.
That's your go-to.
Because we always have that in the middle of the season. Last year was in September. This year's in middle of April. I'm like, oh my God, if they cancel one more week of games, we're going to miss that series. We're going to miss that trip.
They didn't cancel any games, even though they said they did twice.
Yeah, even though they said we're going to cancel another week, and they pushed that back deadline. So they ended up not canceling the one they said the week before or the one that – so, yeah, they didn't cancel any.
That whole thing was such a drag. It's like –
it was a debacle.
I get what their strategy was, trying to put that pressure on the players, but wasting 45 days. I mean, by the end of it, I didn't even care. I was like, somebody just tell me when it's over.
It was terrible to negotiate. Good Lord. And then when they finally faced that tight deadline at the end, they got it done. They met for like 16 hours instead of like an hour and a half. And okay, we'll do it again in 2 days.
It's just a
Manfred didn't win any friends, did he? The only people that like him are the owners.
My favorite is they got him practicing his golf swing right before the press conference.
And somebody got a hold of his schedule and everything, so they have all the days that he played.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I almost feel for him in a sense where I know he's just kind of a voice. It's not like he's making these decisions, but
yeah,
the fact that he was joking around and laughing and having a good time, canceling baseball games, I can't imagine sat too well with a lot of people.
Yeah, he doesn't have the right demeanor for that.
No,
for that position.
Or maybe he has the perfect demeanor because he didn't seem too phased.
Yeah, well, the owners like him, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
they're the owners that can fire him.
Yeah,
and they like him. He's made them a lot of money. So, all right. Well, the important thing is they didn't have to cancel any games. They're going to play a full season. We got baseball going. Weather's been great so far down here. Tell you what, man, Braves fans, you guys got a lot to be excited about. You lose Freddie Freeman, but this team, I swear, if they stay healthy, they're going to be better than last year, I think. If they stay healthy. Remember, they were under 500 last year into August.
You got second week of August. Soroka?
No, but they're not even updating him because he's so
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't. Spot.
Yeah, you don't want to come out and say
anything.
That he'd probably be lucky to pitch this year because you don't want to let that. You got to give him positivity and all that. You don't want fans, but I mean, realistically, people keep asking me about Soroka. I'm like, okay, the normal rehab for an Achilles tendon is about 12 months, right?
Yeah.
And that's about what it took. You try to rush it back, and he ended up having setbacks. That's a normal. We're in uncharted waters now. A second tear.
Yeah.
Really, before the first one had really even healed. So our injury expert that wrote about it said, second tear, you got to be looking at like 18 months. If they're smart, they wouldn't even try to have him push to come back this year. The only reason you didn't want him to come back this year, so psychologically he goes into the offseason.
If he could just get on the field in late September and pitch a game and then finally just breathe a little bit.
But you sure don't want him pushing it because if he tears it again, that's it. He's done.
Yeah.
Is done. So you do want to, you want to say, look, we're aiming for next year and just take your time. Because they took out a chunk of did a graft like from his hamstring this time to strengthen the Achilles. So that's more that has to heal,
Well, that almost bothered me more than my elbow when I had Tommy John. Mm-hmm. My right knee hurt from where they'd taken that graft out of my hamstring.
That's what Chipper said when they did his Achilles, back then he had a graft done on or his ACL, I'm sorry. He had a graft done back then. And he said the chunk they took out of, because he had the right size patella, you have to have a thick enough patella to do it. They took out like a third of his patella, on the other thing. He said that was hard rehabbing that. So you're rehabbing two things at once. So, but all right.
I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So talented. Such a great kid. God, it would be awful if he doesn't get to come back and pitch, but all right, we'll do this again. Maybe after Freddie signs somewhere, but
just real quick, we hit some ads real quick, David.
Oh man, that's right. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I know it's late.
I'm so tired. I'm like,
why don't you patch yourself in earlier?
I was going to, but
why
you guys
couldn't
having
do
such a
that?
riveting conversation. I didn't
You
want to
couldn't
interrupt.
just say, "Okay, I got some ads."
I did.
Yeah.
I sent you a couple
Come
messages.
on, man.
that's
I'm
on you,
not
Cam.
looking at
I
messages,
sent you
Cam.
messages.
I'm like falling asleep here, Cam. I've been up 16 hours.
Let's jump into this.
That's on you.
If you're stuck in a crappy hotel room with nothing to do, then I recommend you turn over to BetMGM, where they are the exclusive betting partner at The Athletic. And it's also March Madness. First four was just today. Make sure you get all your betting in there. And if you sign up with BetMGM, you get a $200 bonus when you bet $10, plus you get a 1-year free subscription to The Athletic. All you have to do is use the promo code of The Athletic Pod to get in the game with the king of sportsbooks. That's $200 bonus when you bet
That's a hell of a deal right there.
plus a free Athletic subscription when you use The Athletic Pod at checkout. It's a new customer offer. Download the BetMGM app today. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. Yeah, you're in a crappy hotel room. I mean, what else you got to do?
I might do that myself. I might just gamble my brains out while I'm here.
Can you gamble on baseball?
I can gamble on anything I want.
That's cool.
He's David O'Brien. He can do whatever he wants. Speaking of doing whatever you want, find the future that you want. You can do that with LinkedIn Jobs. Fortunately for myself, I was able to find this position to The Athletic, running this show into the ground as we're jumping into the 50 whatever minute discussing ads. But you can find your new future by going to LinkedIn Jobs. You can create a free job post in just minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/real. That's REAL. That's linkedin.com/real to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And last but certainly not least, it's more common than people think. 52% of men between the ages of 40 and 70 will experience some form of ED. Roman can help you out with this. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. It's discreet and straightforward. All you have to do to get started is go to getroman.com/755.
Slow down. I got to write this down. Hold on.
I just sent this to you afterwards too, David. I know you've been asking all day for it.
No.
Go to getroman.com/755 today. And if you're prescribed, get $15 off your first month of treatment. Make sure you're ready to have confidence and control. Roman, ready. Let's wrap this shit up.
Man. This classy show, you got to top it off with that. Come on now. No, that's great. I'm sorry. That's our sponsor. We love Roman. Is that their name, Roman?
Yeah, it shows you how much we really love them.
Roman's solid, man. They do solid work.
All right, finish the show, God.
They do essential work, man. I mean, it's
solid work, hard work.
Just edit that out, Cam.
Okay, Cam. Okay, just edit that out, please. All right, so good spring for the Braves so far. Hell of a couple of days of moves, and all things considered,
good shape.
Yeah, good shape. I mean, you lose the face of the franchise, and you're still in great shape. So, hey, as the guys were saying today, the guys that love Freddie, all we're saying today, it's a business, and they all remind it's a business. Bottom line, it's a business. Even all the guys that are his best friends on the team were like, you know, it's a business. You hate it. You hate seeing Freddie go, but they were all happy for Freddie that he's going to end up getting. Well, they hope he's going to get a contract that he wants to get for his family and all that stuff. So.
Hope so too.
I do too. If he can't come back here, he better get the contract that he's looking for, man. Or at least goes home down, plays in LA, you know.
Yeah, playing at home, that'd be nice.
I mean, you're hearing all these things. You're hearing Boston pop up now. I mean, Boston, I can see Freddie playing in Boston as well. He'd be a good fit.
He'd love that monster too.
Yeah, he'd be a good fit there.
He'd be banging. Would be nice to him.
He'd be banging balls off the monster. He could hook one around the pesky pole, whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah. I can't see him in New York. I cannot see Freddie playing in New York. He's not a New York guy. He can play anywhere, but I don't see him in New York.
It's gonna be weird seeing him in another uniform.
Tell you what, though, I told somebody on Twitter, though, is, as much as you can't imagine him in another uniform. Fact of the matter is, in that Dodger uniform, Freddie's gonna look good.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Because he's got that long body, with those white pants they have. Almost anybody looks good in a Dodger uniform if you're in good shape or whatever. It's just it's a clean uni, like the Braves uni, the Cardinals uni, the Dodgers uni. People look good in those unis, man.
That Mets uni's awkward. Or even the Yankees too. The pinstripes, first time you put them on, they feel a little strange.
Yeah, they only look good on certain people.
Yeah.
I mean, Judge, but hell, he looks good in any uniform.
Donaldson's gonna have to shave.
How about Don? Yeah, I didn't even thought about that. JD's gonna have to shave.
And he's playing with Cole.
How about JD in New York, man?
Oh, he's gonna eat it up.
If anybody can handle that, but I could see the potential for Bobby Bonilla clash with a writer or two, though, or anybody.
Yeah.
He will not back down, and they won't either.
No, but
there's going to be some incidents.
There will. There always is.
Because that's just JD, man. It's like Bobby Bo. If somebody gives him shit, he's gonna call him on it.
He always does.
But he'll do great there, I think. Anyway. All right. Well, everybody, we'll be back with another show, maybe after Freddie signs. And thanks, everybody. We're going to start doing these every week. And in a couple of weeks, when we get close to the season or start the season, we'll be back on the 2 and 3. And here's a hint, a surprise. We may be looking at a third show every week. How about that? With the special, what do they call it, Cam? What do we call those? The rooms?
Yeah, live rooms on the
Athletic. Live rooms, talking to you fine listeners out there with direct dialogue on the show. How about that?
That'd be cool. I'm in on that.
I think we're going to be doing that this year. Right, Cam?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready to tackle it.
All right.
So we'll talk to you guys later. 7:55 is real. We are out.